spoken about Felthouse and Bindley. It's so much easier to say it when you can see the name of the case on the slide. Another similar case that's worth thinking about with silence is Empirnall Holdings and Machon Paull. So that's a case that involved a building company and an architect. And I think the builders or the developers, I think they spoke to the architects and said, look, we'd like you to do this work for us. And the architects provide their standard terms and conditions. And the builder developer came back and said, Mr. whoever it is, I can't remember which side was which, well, he doesn't believe in signing contracts. You either trust us or you don't. And the architect said, well, you know, these actually are our terms and conditions. And so they signed a copy of their terms and conditions and sent them off to the developer anyway. And then they started doing some work. And then they sent an invoice, which got paid. And then they sent another invoice and it didn't get paid. And the building development company went into liquidation. So the liquidator or the developer said, actually, there is no contract. There was never a contract, and we expressly said we didn't want to enter into a contract. So you had no basis for sending us that invoice. And the court said, actually, that's not the case. You said you wouldn't enter into a contract. Our clients provided you with a contract and offer anyway, and you then instructed them to do the work, and you paid them one time over in accordance with the contract that they provided. So, and objectively, even though you never signed it, objectively, after saying that you wouldn't enter into a contract, you appear to have accepted their offer by doing these things. Questions, concerns, frustrations? We've talked about that case. I don't want to go through that one in much detail. Oh, there you are. Facts for Empirnall. There's the answer. And once again, an objective test. Just as a cue here to, when an offeree with a reasonable opportunity to reject the offer of goods or services takes the benefit of them under circumstances which indicate that they were to be paid for in accordance with an offer, it is open to the tribunal of fact, so the court at first instance, to hold that the offer was accepted in accordance with its terms. One of the things that you'll find as we go on, especially in the last half of this course, when we start to unpick what contracts mean, one of the rules that the courts will use often is that it is better to find a contract where parties have actually acted as if there was a contract than not. So, general rule, acceptance is effective at the time and the location it's received by the offeror. It takes place when and where it's received, and acceptance won't be effective until it's actually received. But it gets a little bit tricky because there are lots of different ways of communicating with people. We can do that orally, we can do it in writing, and we can do it these days through many different forms of electronic communication. So whether that's, we can do it through physical documents, but we can also letters and post, etc. But we can also use SMS, WhatsApp, social media apps, all sorts, Zoom, Skype. There's very many ways of communicating.